Hello, and welcome to Advanced Mathematics 1, Unit 5, Part 3, Factoring Quadratics of the form x squared plus bx plus c. In other words, quadratics that have a first term of 1 as its coefficient. These are the easiest ones to factor. All right, by the end of the lesson today, you'll be able to factor quadratics with a first term of 1. So basically what factoring is the reverse of what we did in the last lesson. Instead of multiplying two things together to get a product, we're given the product and we're asked to figure out the two things that multiplied to get them. So basically you have to understand what you did in the last lesson. So I'm just going to write out an example here. So we got a plus b times c plus d. So when we multiply that together, we distribute the a first. So we get a times c plus a times d. And then we distribute the b. So plus b times c plus b times d. These two terms end up combining together at the end. This one is going to be the easy part because we're dealing with a first term of 1. So we know they're both going to be just single x's. The last term is caused by a product. So that's important to understand that the last term is a product. So when you get positive numbers and when you get negative numbers, it's going to depend on the signs of the b and the d. And then the middle term is adding up those two middle terms in the middle. So basically what factoring is going from this answer, whatever this number is, back to here. So it's recognizing the patterns that got you there. So that's a little bit tricky, but it's a very, very important concept. It's one of the most important concepts for you to learn because it is used very, very, very frequently. So let's continue. So the main concepts are basically based on what I just told you. The factoring involves pattern recognition. So the final term of a x squared, it's x squared plus bx plus c, okay? So if the last term in that trinomial is positive, then basically there's two possibilities. If b in the middle is positive, that means both factors are positive because the two terms would have to be positive in order to make that work. If it's negative, both factors are negative. They have to either both be negative or both be positive to end up with a c being positive, because if they multiply together, two positive numbers make a positive or two negative make a positive. And that's the only way you can get a positive. So the middle term tells you which of the two selections it is. So you look at the end term, you see c is positive, you say, okay, now what's b? b is positive, then both factors are positive. B is negative, both factors are negative. Then the opposite is if C is negative. So if B is positive, in this case, the bigger of the two factors is positive, because when you add a big positive number to a smaller negative number, you get a positive number. And then if B is negative, the larger factor is the negative factor. So that's basically the pattern that you have to know. You have to memorize it. There is no easy way to just do it. You just have to know the pattern. So let's go into the examples. All right, in my first example, my last term is positive. So when I see a last term is positive, that means I'm going to look here and I'm going to say that term is positive. That means both my factors are positive. So I can start by writing x plus and x plus. So now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to 10. That's how you have to work on this. So you start thinking of things, factors of 16. 16 and 1 don't add to 10. You can write them down if you want. 16 and 1, 8 and 2. 8 and 2 add to 10. If you add those together, you get 10. So my factors are positive 8 and positive 2. It does not matter what order you write that in. So it could be x plus 2, x plus 8. It does not matter. And that's literally all there is to it, is literally just memorizing these patterns. So let's go on to example 2. Again, the n term is positive. This time, the middle term is negative. So that means my factors are both going to be negative. Because the only way they multiply two numbers together to get a positive is if they are the same sign. So this time, again, there's the middle, the two terms are going to multiply to 35. They're still going to add to 12 because these are the same sign. So I can start writing factors of 35. We got 35 and 1. Certainly not. 5 goes in 7 times. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these two add to 12. So, oops, my 7 is here, sorry. And my 5 is here. It doesn't matter. You could have written the 5 first and then the 7. Again, really doesn't matter. So once you have the answer, it's really fast. It's just figuring it out that's the hard part. All right, in my last two examples, I have an end term that is negative. That means the signs are going to be opposite. One is going to be positive and one is going to be negative. And which one is which is going to be determined by the sign in the middle, just like before. So I have an x plus and an x minus. So when you think about these, it's easier to think about it as two things that multiply to 42 that subtract to this number, which is 1. So again, I'm going to look at factors of 42. So 42 and 1, 2 and 21, those certainly do not subtract to 1. 3 goes in. 3 goes in 1 with remainder 12, 14 times, still not there. 4 does not go in. 5 does not go in. 6 should go in. 6 does. It goes in 7 times. All right, so now we need to know which one goes where. Since the middle term is negative, the bigger factor has to be negative in order for those to add to -1. So 7 minus 6 is 1, but -7 plus 6 is -1, which is what we're looking for. So I'm going to put the 7 in the negative place and the 6 in the positive place, and then I'm done. All right, I have one more to go. Again, the n term is negative, so I have opposite factors. This time, the middle term is positive. So that means the bigger factor is going to be positive. So I'm looking for factors of 30 that subtract to 13. So 30 and 1 do not subtract to 13. 2 and 15, however, do. So again, 1 is positive, 1 is negative. The larger term is going to be positive because when I add these together, I would get 13. So that's why the 15 is positive and the 2 is the negative. So really this just involves a lot of practice. I like to think of it as the end term tells you whether the factors add or subtract to make the middle term. A lot of people just want to think about it as addition, but then you have to really work on that negative in there, which I think is a lot harder for the brain. So I just think of addition and then put the signs in later based on the middle term. But it's up to you. You have to find out what works for you. So really, really know the pattern. That's the important part. Work on memorizing it. Once you get it down, this should go very, very quickly. You'll get to the point where it's just like, oh yeah, it's these two terms that do this. And you should be able to do the problems very, very fast. So I will see you next time. Goodbye.